Hello, everyone. My guest today is James McDonough. He's a passionate entrepreneur, technology CEO, and past top-tier management consultant. He's now bringing and blazing new trails here at CForge, which helps digital forms and procedures occur in seconds with zero coding. We'll talk about that today. James, are you ready to take us to the top?
Excited.
All right. Tell us about CForge. The bio's a little confusing. What do you guys actually do and how do you make money?
Yeah, so CForge is the company's name. The platform is called Fatfinger. Our customers named it, and it came from my work. I've worked my entire life in heavy industry, and basically we enable frontline employees to build apps in seconds. And so those apps are typically based around forms, procedures, checklists, anything that Bob is walking around in maybe an oil refinery or a field service worker is doing things like safety, quality, field tickets, anything on a clipboard. Bob is able to build an app for himself or his team or his company with no code, not low code, in basically seconds.
So it kind of empowers these folks to kind of not have to wait for the corporate ID department to check off a bunch of boxes. They can just empower them and do it themselves.
Exactly. So it starts from a end user or bottom of the pyramid, and it starts working its way up when they start adopting.
And what will Bob, the frontline kind of oil refinery worker who's on the rig in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, what will he do if he says, I'm sick of filling out these forms every day, oil gets all over him, you can't even read them, I want to make this an app? What does he do that night?
Yeah, exactly. So, they start searching around. Now Bob is kind of in our generation, and kind of, not using paper and wanting to, be mobile enabled. So they start searching around, find Fatfinger, sign up to our free trial, go through our 60-second tutorial. And at the end of it, he's created his first custom app. And then that really gets the kind of the wheels spinning, the juices flowing to say, wow, I could not only do my original intent, which might have been his safety inspection, but then, why aren't we doing our XYZ processes or procedures? And that, starts, maybe sharing the app with other people or gaining momentum.
But James, does Bob on that oil refinery, does he have a laptop he goes to back in his bunk that night to do it? Is it all on his phone, the building?
The creation of the app, he does that from his desktop or web browser. And then the actual use of the app is from any platform, including mobile.
Okay. And let's say he builds the app. What enables him to then make that the standard app that all the other people use versus all of them going and creating their own apps to do the same thing, right? That's why there's process in the first place.
Yeah, of course. So basically Bob would invite his colleagues to the team. So it'd be like, the Exxon team or whatever company is using it. And then they would join that account, and then they would, depending on the access and privileges that's being set up, is what that user will see. Mm-hmm. So we've got the ability to, let's say that the safety team will see the safety apps and templates, and the maintenance team will see, those type of procedures.
But what I'm really curious about here though is like the friction, right? So like, do they then have to like take the time to understand and learn Bob's form, and do they actually do that, or do they just stick with the paper that has been working all along?
That after it's being created? No. So that the new user, let's say Bob's colleague or
Sam,
the person supervisor, whatever, Sam, George, whatever, they get an invite saying, hey, welcome to Fatfinger, download it for free. And as soon as they log in, they'll see what Bob has created, and that's it. So it's super easy.
Okay. But I guess what I'm trying to say is the reason that these archaic systems exist in the first place is because it is part of a bigger system. So you're essentially enabling systems change from the bottom up instead of from top down. And so my question is, how do you actually drive true system change and adaptation, outside of just Bob's own usage? How does he then sell that up from there so the whole thing gets more efficient?
Yeah, so that's the magic. So and that's really why I founded the company is that friction or that frustration is the frontline employee knows their job, they're passionate about their job, and they're tired or really frustrated with basically people not listening to them or just waiting for the bureaucracy to kick in, or corporate IT who is traditionally under resourced and just can't keep up with the sheer demand of, let's say, digitalization of procedures. And so when Bob and his team start using it, liking it, and it spreads to other teams because it's so easy to create more procedures and flexible, that they really are selling it upwards. And so there's this disconnect, or this I guess incorrect thinking that that the I guess the field workers or the front line aren't I guess aren't I guess motivated to change, and that's completely wrong. It's just that typically enterprise software is sold to the C-level, and they're not, I guess, bringing the front line or the true subject matter experts from the business into those decisions. And so we went the opposite way. Instead of selling to the CIO or the executive, we sell from the bottoms up and allow them to bubble up the usage and I guess the initiation of change.
Okay. So okay, I understand the product. Walk me through pricing. Does Bob pay directly? He's the one using it.
Yeah. So a lot of times, even with really large companies, we have from Exxon to other, Fortune 100 companies using the platform. They start for free. So we take away that friction to at least basically start the ball rolling, maybe allow them to show their supervisor, et cetera. And a lot of the times, that team might just use their personal credit card to maybe in the first 5-10 users. And then now they've got enough traction to, put a business case together and flip it over to
okay. This reminds me a lot of kind of how, the name is escaping me. Expensify with David Burnett out in Boulder. He did the same thing where it's like it's basically a receipt and a billing platform, right? So the individual janitor to do expense reporting might pay $5 a month to do it, but once the janitor and then the secretary and everyone else, then you sell it up to a bigger plan. There's always though a lot of friction between. I know this sounds so simple, but it's always very difficult to say, okay, we're looking at our systems records. You're in your back end of Stripe, and you see 40 at Exxon.com accounts signed up, and you're going, oh, this one, it makes sense to put touch on, try and sell the CIO directly. You call the CIO, they say, okay, we'll put it on our credit card, but then you got to figure out how to get all those users on that credit card and then shut off their personal cards. And then there's expense issues. How do you deal with that?
Yeah. So that flip over from, I guess, individual team to larger enterprise, that's where it starts slowing down in terms of the automation. Because Bob, the trial to first users and credit card, that we don't see any of that. We just kind of see the data behind it. When they start flipping over, then that's where we start getting involved in more of an enterprise sale, because then corporate IT starts vetting us, taking us through the security and compliance and all of the manual billing and that type of thing. So that's where it does start bogging down, but also the contract values start getting
higher.
larger.
Yeah. So what would Bob start at? I mean, is it a lower price point, $1, $5, $10, something like that a month?
Yeah, we have a kind of standard and pro plan ranging from $9 to $15 a month per user, unlimited apps.
Okay.
And then maybe some enterprise plans that if they're wanting some more enterprise features on top of that.
Okay. And I'm trying to figure out the right question to ask to understand how much of your business is from the personal folks versus you've sold it to an IT department and then they sell it and they triple the volume inside of that one organization. So would you say more than 50% of your user base is coming from a long tail, and let's call that teams of 5 or less?
Well, so when you flip over, they'll buy big chunks of users, right? So the enterprise starts, I guess, becoming much more important than it's kind of like the top of the funnel. We almost treat the teams almost as leads. And nurturing them to the larger deals.
Yep.
Which then that revenue is more than the smaller teams.
Yep. Well, what do you track more closely? What do you build your internal systems around? Number of logos using you or number of individual seats?
So we obviously make money off of seats, but the logo is really important because the logo dictates how much opportunity there is inside of that logo.
Yep.
So for example, we have a team that might bubble up to go from 5 people in the safety department to only a 50-person company versus a 100,000-person company. There's a lot more opportunity, within that account.
So let's ignore number of seats. How many logos would you say you have at least, one person active on your platform?
Oh, because we do free trials, it's in the thousands.
Oh, got it. Okay, well, how many paid? Just do logos.
Yeah. So I guess we're around maybe 50 accounts. Yeah.
Okay. So then it is then still pretty targeted. I mean, those are, it sounds like you may have some that have thousands of seats and some that have 2 seats, but if you've got 50 and you have a real business you're building, you've got a lot of enterprise accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Give me more of the backstory here. When did you launch the company?
So actually, we're 7.5 years old. We launched in Perth. I'm a Canadian. It's a long story. And then moved to the Silicon Valley about 6 years ago. And then we ended up raising a round in Houston, Texas, to focus in oil and gas at the time.
Okay. So how much raised to date total?
About 1.1, it's 1.5.
1.5. Okay, good. And now where are you guys all based? Is everyone in Houston?
So my core team is in Houston, myself as well. And then we have a dispersed team all over.
Okay, so Houston and kind of remote. And what's the total team size?
9.
Oh, 9 people. Okay, good. So you've kept it kind of lean and mean. Now, are you cash flow positive now today, or no? You're still burning.
So we go in and out, depending. And so, yeah, it's been interesting. We have some competitors that have raised, $100 million.
Name one.
iAuditor's almost there, and there's a number of ones that have raised big venture dollars, which we don't really understand because we think we have an on par product, and we've kept it lean and mean, kind of on purpose.
Yep. No, that's good. Okay, good. So that's helpful. 2011, 9 people, Houston remote, 1.5 raised. You were in oil. Sorry, did you say you were in oil and gas before this? That's how you knew the market existed?
Yeah, so I've got kind of a weird background. Since I was 16, I worked in forest and pulp and paper, like in the equivalent of kind of a refinery, but in pulp mill, sawmills. Did that through high school, university, then did my MBA in Australia and China, went into management consulting, and spent a lot of time, I guess, on oil rigs, mining sites, kind of heavy industry sites all over Asia Pacific. And again, saw the frustration of the end users at the time, kind of mobile. The iPad had just been released, which is hard to believe now.
Yeah.
And kind of the whole mobile first, if that was the buzzword at the time. And we saw an opportunity to say, hey, this mobile thing is going to be big. Let's, make it super easy for the front line and just build a just elegant product that front.
You cut out there for a second, but I think you just said you want to build an elegant product that makes it easy for frontline to use.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. And then you look, a good measurement of that is, again, how many active seats you've got on the platform. So are you in the thousands at this point, or dozens, or where are you?
Yeah. So that's, I guess, private on exact numbers, but.
Yeah. Okay. When do you think, let me maybe ask it differently. What's your next kind of big uncomfortable stretch goal for number of seats? Like, is 10,000 the milestone, or 1,000,000 seats? What's your next big thing?
I guess so. We've got some logos that have, those companies are in the hundreds of thousand employees, or 100,000 in tens of thousands of employees. And so trying to get mass adoption, basically they call them strategic tools.
Yep.
And then you're basically a strategic partner of those companies.
And you might have a couple hundred of them only today, like less than 1% of the workforce.
Yeah. I guess maybe they're usually location dependent or country specific. So it's going to more basically facilities or
locations.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let me ask you a different question. What the average team size using you? What would you say? Are we talking hundreds, thousands, or a couple, 5, 10?
Well, it starts in the kind of the 10, because it starts in a kind of department or team just naturally, and then that kind of site has in the tens or 50 or et cetera, and then maybe that site has 100 or whatever, and then that's where we're trying to take it across sites.
Okay, good.
Have that champion take us to.
And I know you don't want to share your current revenue numbers, but can you give me kind of what you're aiming to get to at some point? Like, when do you think you'll maybe pass 10 million or 5 million, whatever your next big milestone is?
I guess, we're just private on that.
Okay. Well, I mean, look, you said you kind of go in and out of kind of cash break even. You have 9 employees, right? So if you assume a pretty small salary of, call it 60-ish, especially for developers, that's 540 a year right there. So we'll say maybe somewhere around there at this point, since you don't want to share more. What would allow you to scale growth faster? In other words, do you have people on this 9-person team that are inside sales doing the land and expand strategy, or what?
No. So that's, again, we've raised, kept it ultra lean. We only do digital marketing. So really the only time we get in flipping the enterprise side, we don't have any, I guess it's not like the SDRA.
Well, why not though, James? You said that that's your biggest strategy is to take a 10-person team and make it a 100,000 person team. That seems like me. That's like exactly what an insides rep does or account executive does.
Yeah, so it's been interesting. And I guess the history of the company, we've been around a while. We used to do that, and what we find is having the frontline person take it at the speed which basically decisions are made. We can't break that as a little company or an inside salesperson. So usually we invest in success and make it super easy for them to start adopting. And then when they're ready or they have that adoption, we're there to basically support them in any way to go larger. But we don't do any, outbound say, hey, you should use this product and, take them through the demo cycle.
It sounds like you just maybe had a shitty account executive in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what they're hired to do, is to accelerate this process.
Yes, but that's usually sold to the
CTO
C-level.
or yeah.
We don't do that, right? We sell at a low ticket, frictionless.
Yeah, but how do you go from I'm making this up, the Houston office to the Perth, Australia office? Those employees on the refinery floor are never talking to each other. They're not like on a walkie-talkie each night. You've got to go up the org somehow and then come back down on the other side. Yeah,
usually success. It starts boiling up because maybe IT in that region finds out about it, and then they're either expressing wins from a business level, and
so boom, account executive.
Yeah,
so, I mean that's exactly where you'd put it. I'm just curious, why it didn't work out.
If we raise more money, or that's definitely an opportunity.
All right, so what? Most of the 9 right now are developers.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're basically product focused company.
Okay, good. What about churn? What's your churn today?
So we churn. It's very low in terms of paid, and the enterprise side. Like anyone who's adopting isn't churning. It's basically they get addicted to the product. We churn out maybe the really small businesses that are either going out of business or they're looking for free and they're experimenting with first paid.
Yeah. Well, ignore logo churn since you have such a huge bandwidth of kinds of customers, but revenue churn. I mean, are you above 100% net revenue retention annually, meaning your expansion outpaces your lost?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Got it. You said it with a lot of confidence. How far above? Like 110, 120?
Well, because when they flip up to enterprise, it just kind of dwarfs the ones that we lose.
Yeah. I mean, so how big? Is it about like 200, 300?
Yeah, right, I guess. Yeah, around.
Okay, no, I mean that's healthy. Well, I don't know why you'd be shy about that. That's great. Okay, very good. And then what about CAC? So what are you paying to acquire these new guys? At the bottom of the pyramid.
So most of it happens through word of mouth, and but if doing our different testing from online marketing, we can acquire a trial for about just over $20.
Okay,
and then you can acquire an enterprise logo for around $1,000.
Around $1,000. Okay, good. And then how quickly do you obviously you have to manage your cash tight because you haven't raised a ton and you're break even. How long are you willing to wait to make that money back in terms of what they're paying you, your payback period?
So the larger enterprises, they take a long time, right? Like you're going through the enterprise sales cycle. But really, I guess we're making the marketing the CAC back on the smaller companies, and then the larger ones are flipping, kind of put us in a different category.
Okay, I don't understand. So if you spend $1,000 to acquire a customer, you should know okay, we get that money back in a month, or on average we get it back in 18 months. It sounds like maybe you're not quite sure what that is.
It's we get it. It's I guess long because the majority of our revenue comes from the longer sales cycles.
Got it. But if it's a longer sales cycle, usually that also means they're paying more per month. You see what I'm saying? So it should actually.
Yeah. So we might acquire a logo for, let's say $1,000, but then we'll land 10 times, 100 times that 16 months later.
Oh, I see. Because it's expanding.
Yes.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay, good. All right, so you just kind of have to take educated kind of bets there in terms of what the potential account value could be.
Well, yeah, that's why I mentioned at kind of the beginning is they're depending on the logo and the account opportunity, just based on the size of that company, is very important and where we stick our effort.
All right, James, very good. Let's wrap up here with the famous five. Number one, what's your favorite business book?
Oof, of all time,
Yeah.
Probably Stephen Covey's How to Win Friends and Influence People. If
that's good. Number two, is there a CEO you're following or studying right now?
Yeah, I love Peter Diamandis.
Number three, what's your favorite online tool for building a business?
Other than fatfinger.io, probably Asana. We run my life on it.
Number four, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
Around 8.
Okay, and what's your situation? Married, single, kiddos?
Married with our first daughter on the way.
Oh, that's very exciting. Congratulations.
Yeah.
All right, and how old are you, James?
I'm 33.
33. Last question. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
Probably just to relax, but do the same thing you've been doing, but enjoy it more.
Guys, relax, stay focused, enjoy it. More coming from James again. Launched this company, highly specialized niche product, which I love, back in 2011. Bootstrapped it and then raised $1.5 million. Now serving about 50 logos. We'll call it hundreds or thousands of seats across those logos. A bottom-up approach to helping these frontline folks, build apps that make their lives better. Once they tell their buddies, eventually the CIO or the CTO gets wind of it, and then before you know it, they're expanding location to location. They've got a team of 9 people based between Houston and other remote locations. Call it 200 or 300% net revenue retention annually. They have a really effective kind of expansion revenue strategy, just based again from usage there. Charging about $9 a seat across those logos. James, thank you so much for taking us to the top.
Awesome. Thanks for the time.